There's a small moment that happens in kitchens, living rooms, and pharmacies every day. An adult over 60 holds a medicine label farther from the face, cleans the glasses, and tries again. The letters remain soft around the edges. Street signs look slightly blurred. The television menu is harder to read than it was last week. The explanation seems obvious. The eyes are getting older. Perhaps the glasses prescription has changed again. Perhaps a cataract is forming. Perhaps brighter light and a stronger pair of reading glasses will solve the problem. But then something unusual happens. The vision is clearer in the morning and worse after lunch. One day, the distance is blurry. The next day, close objects are harder to focus. A new pair of glasses works briefly, then seems wrong before the month is over. That pattern may not begin with aging at all. It may begin with glucose moving through the blood. When blood sugar rises significantly, it can alter fluid levels and cause swelling in the tissues of the eye that control focusing. The shape and focusing power of the lens can temporarily change, making vision blur even though the glasses have not suddenly worn out. When glucose becomes more stable, the lens may gradually return toward its previous state, and the vision may improve. This short-term blur is different from diabetic retinopathy, but both can originate from the same underlying problem: blood sugar remaining higher than the body can safely manage. That distinction matters because diabetes can affect vision through two separate pathways. The first pathway can change focus over days or weeks. It involves fluid and the lens near the front of the eye. The second pathway develops over years. It damages delicate blood vessels in the retina at the back of the eye, where light is converted into signals the brain can understand. One may improve when glucose stabilizes. The other can progress silently until vision is permanently threatened. This is general education, not a diagnosis. Blurry vision after 60 can come from ordinary refractive changes, dry eye, cataracts, glaucoma, age-related macular degeneration, medication effects, retinal disease, stroke, or many other causes. Aging can affect vision, but aging should never become a universal explanation for a new, fluctuating, or rapidly worsening change. There are three patterns worth separating. The first is fluctuating blur linked to changing blood sugar. Vision becomes clearer and worse at different times, sometimes shifting over several days. A person may suddenly need more help seeing at a distance, then discover that close work has become difficult instead. The prescription seems unstable because the lens itself is temporarily changing as glucose and fluid levels change. The second is gradual retinal blur. Reading becomes harder. Straight lines begin looking wavy. Colors appear duller. A dark or empty area develops near the center of vision. Floaters, cobweb-like shapes, or dark spots may appear after fragile retinal vessels begin leaking or bleeding. The third pattern is sudden vision change. Sight becomes blurred, doubled, blocked, painful, or partly lost without warning. New flashes appear. A curtain or shadow crosses one eye. The eye becomes red and intensely painful. Vision changes appear beside weakness, facial drooping, poor balance, or difficulty speaking. That third pattern is not something to monitor for several days while reducing sugar. It may be an eye or neurological emergency. The fluctuating pattern is the one most likely to be mistaken for an ordinary glasses problem. The lens inside the eye helps bend light so that it focuses sharply on the retina. When glucose is very high, fluid movement within the lens and surrounding focusing tissues can alter its shape and refractive power. The eye may temporarily become more nearsighted or farsighted. A prescription measured during that unstable period may no longer fit after glucose improves. This is why repeatedly buying stronger glasses without investigating a sudden prescription change can solve the wrong problem. The glasses may be accurately correcting the eye on the day of the examination, but if blood sugar is moving significantly from week to week, the target itself may be moving. High glucose often produces other clues. Thirst becomes harder to satisfy, the mouth feels dry, urination becomes more frequent, especially at night. Energy drops after meals. Cuts take longer to heal. Infections return. Weight may change without a clear reason. Yet type 2 diabetes can develop gradually enough that no single symptom feels dramatic. Some people do not discover it until a complication or a routine blood test finally reveals what has been happening. Blurred vision is among the symptoms that can occur when blood glucose is high, The second pattern is more dangerous because it can begin without blurry vision at all. The retina is a thin, light-sensitive layer of tissue lining the back of the eye. It depends on a network of extremely small blood vessels. Over time, excess glucose can damage those vessels. Some weaken and form tiny bulges, some become blocked, others leak blood or fluid into retinal tissue. The early stages of diabetic retinopathy commonly produce no noticeable symptoms. A person may read, drive, watch television, and believe the eyes are healthy while an eye examination is already able to detect vascular damage. As the disease progresses, fluid can leak into the macula, the central region of the retina responsible for detailed vision. The resulting condition is called diabetic macular edema. Letters may become blurred, faces may lose sharpness, straight edges can look distorted, colors may appear faded. The National Eye Institute estimates that approximately 1 in 15 people with diabetes will develop diabetic macular edema. In more advanced retinopathy, the retina attempts to compensate for blocked circulation by growing new blood vessels. These vessels are not strong. They can bleed into the clear gel, filling the eye. A small bleed may appear as dark spots, floating threads, or cobwebs. A larger bleed can suddenly obscure much of the vision. Scar tissue can form and pull the retina away from the back of the eye. The frightening part is that serious damage may be developing before the person experiences enough blur to seek help. I want to tell you about a woman I will call Elaine, a representative composite rather than one identifiable patient. Elaine was 66 and worked part-time managing invoices for a family business. She had worn reading glasses for years and considered changing vision one of the least surprising parts of growing older. The first problem appeared in the evening. Numbers on her computer became soft after dinner. Even when she wore her usual glasses, she increased the screen size and moved the monitor closer. The next morning, the numbers looked normal again. Elaine decided her eyes were tired. Several weeks later, distant road signs became blurry. She cleaned the windshield, cleaned her glasses, and scheduled an appointment for a new prescription. The updated lenses helped, but only temporarily. Within another month, the distance seemed clearer, while close print had become difficult again. The change made no sense. A cataract usually does not disappear in the morning and return after a meal. Ordinary presbyopia does not typically reverse direction from one week to the next, but Elaine did not know that variability itself was a clue. Other changes had been developing outside her eyes. She woke twice each night to urinate. A bottle of water remained beside her bed because her mouth felt dry. She became tired in the afternoon and occasionally felt hungry soon after eating. Each symptom had its own explanation. The urination came from age. The thirst came from warm weather. The fatigue came from poor sleep. The blurred vision came from her glasses. Then one morning, Elaine noticed several dark specks drifting through her right eye. She moved her head, but the specks moved with her. They resembled tiny insects or threads suspended in water. She waited for them to disappear. Some became less noticeable, but one remained. At her next primary care appointment, Elaine mentioned the frequent urination and fatigue. Blood testing showed that her glucose had been significantly elevated, and her A1C laboratory measure reflecting average blood sugar over roughly 3 months was in the diabetes range. The diagnosis surprised her. Her eyes had been warning her before she understood that the problem involved her entire metabolism. Elaine was sent for a comprehensive dilated eye examination. Drops widened her pupils so that the eye doctor could examine the retina and its blood vessels. The examination revealed early diabetic retinopathy. The dark specks had made her seek help, but much of the earliest vascular damage had produced no symptoms at all. Her ophthalmologist explained the two processes separately. The changing focus was likely related in part to unstable glucose affecting the lens. That could improve as her blood sugar stabilized. The retinal changes were different. They represented physical blood vessel injury and required ongoing monitoring. Better glucose, blood pressure, and cholesterol control could reduce the risk of progression, but a clear day of vision would not prove that the retina had healed. Elaine was advised not to rush into another permanent glasses prescription while her glucose was changing rapidly. Her diabetes treatment was adjusted by the clinician managing it, and her eyes were followed according to the severity of the retinal findings. Over the next several weeks, her thirst and nighttime urination improved. Her focusing gradually became more stable. The glasses that had seemed wrong every few days became usable again. But the retinal examination remained necessary. That difference changed the way Elaine thought about sight. She had assumed vision was either clear or damaged. She learned that an eye can see clearly while disease is developing and become temporarily blurry without permanent retinal injury. The mirror and the glasses could not distinguish between those situations. A dilated examination could. Before I continue, let me ask you something important. Have you ever made a major decision while feeling worried, rushed, or unsure which information you could trust? That is how costly mistakes often begin. A frightening headline can influence your investments. Conflicting health advice can leave you confused. A convincing salesperson, online scam, or emotional family situation can pressure you into acting before you have checked the facts, and after 50, the consequences can be much greater. One poor decision may affect your retirement savings, your health, your independence, or your peace of mind for years. That is why I want you to take a look at the decision trap. It is a practical guide designed to help adults over 50 recognize fear, manipulation, hidden bias, misleading information, and high-pressure tactics before making an important decision. Inside, you will find a simple step-by-step system for slowing the situation down, checking the evidence, asking the right questions, comparing your options, and protecting yourself from mistakes that could become expensive. Do not wait until a bad decision teaches you the lesson the hard way. Click the link in the description and get your copy of the Decision Trap now. Then come straight back, because the next part gives you 4 specific details that help separate fluctuating blood sugar blur from retinal damage, cataracts, glaucoma, and sudden eye or stroke emergencies. There are 4 details worth noticing when blurry vision appears after 60. The first is fluctuation. Does the vision change noticeably from morning to evening or from one day to the next? Does it become worse when thirst, frequent urination, fatigue, or unusual? Why high glucose readings are also present? Has the glasses prescription appeared to change more quickly than expected? A fluctuating pattern may occur when blood sugar changes the focusing properties of the lens. That does not prove diabetes, but it is a reason to consider glucose testing, rather than repeatedly replacing glasses. The second detail is whether the blur affects central vision, side vision, or the entire field. Macular edema often affects sharp central vision, used for reading and recognizing faces. Open-angle glaucoma can gradually damage peripheral vision with few early symptoms. Cataracts commonly cause haziness, glare, faded colors, halos around lights, and difficulty seeing at night. Age-related macular degeneration can distort or remove central detail. These conditions may occur beside diabetes rather than instead of it. People with diabetes have higher risks of diabetic retinopathy, cataracts, and open-angle glaucoma, which is why the cause cannot be determined from the word blurry alone. The third detail is what appears inside the blur. Are straight lines becoming wavy? Are colors duller? Are there dark spots, empty areas, cobwebs, or new floaters? Does one eye see objects as a different size from the other? These changes can point toward retinal or macular involvement and deserve prompt eye evaluation. The fourth detail is speed. A gradual change over months requires assessment. A sudden change can require immediate action. A sudden increase in floaters, flashes of light, or a dark curtain or shadow crossing the field of vision can indicate retinal tearing or detachment. Retinal detachment is a medical emergency because delayed treatment can lead to permanent vision loss. Intense eye pain with redness, nausea, and sudden blurry vision can indicate acute angle closure glaucoma. Another emergency in which eye pressure rises rapidly. Sudden vision change accompanied by facial drooping, arm weakness, poor balance, confusion, or speech difficulty can be a stroke warning and requires emergency services. Do not wait to see whether these patterns improve after drinking water, eating less sugar, or sleeping overnight. The useful sentence at a routine appointment is not, "My vision is blurry because I am getting older." It is more specific, "My vision has begun changing throughout the day." My current glasses prescription no longer feels consistent, and I have also noticed thirst, frequent urination, fatigue, or abnormal glucose readings. Could blood sugar be affecting my focus? And do I need glucose testing and a comprehensive dilated eye examination? That statement connects the eyes to the rest of the body without assuming the diagnosis. For someone already diagnosed with diabetes, the useful sentence is different. My vision has become blurred or distorted. I've noticed these floaters or dark areas, and my recent glucose control has changed. Could this be temporary, lens-related blur, diabetic retinopathy, macular edema, or another eye condition? The distinction is important because a standard vision check is not the same as a diabetic retinal examination. Reading letters from a chart may show that vision has changed, but dilation or appropriate retinal imaging is needed to inspect the blood vessels and tissues at the back of the eye. The American Diabetes Association's 2026 Standards of Care recommend that adults with type 2 diabetes receive an initial comprehensive dilated eye examination at diagnosis because high glucose may have been present unnoticed for years. Adults with type 1 diabetes are advised to receive the initial examination 5 years after onset. When retinopathy is present, examination should occur at least annually and more often when the disease is progressing or at threatening sight. After normal examinations and well-managed glucose, some people may be able to extend the interval to every 1 or 2 years under professional guidance. Do not skip the examination because the vision seems normal. Early diabetic retinopathy may cause no symptoms. Do not assume that a normal examination several years ago protects the eyes today. Risk increases with the duration of diabetes, and blood pressure, cholesterol, smoking, and glucose control influence progression. Do not change diabetes medication abruptly because the vision becomes blurry after treatment begins. As blood glucose changes, the lens may take time to adjust, and vision can temporarily fluctuate. Medication decisions should be made with the clinician managing the diabetes, while significant visual changes should also be reported to an eye care professional. And do not buy a permanent new prescription every time glucose is moving rapidly without telling the optometrist or ophthalmologist. The eye doctor needs to know whether diabetes has recently been diagnosed, whether medication has changed, and whether home glucose readings have been unusually high or unstable. If retinopathy or diabetic macular edema is found, modern treatment may include injections of anti-VEGF medicines, laser procedures, corticosteroid treatment, in selected situations, or vitrectomy surgery when bleeding or scar tissue is severe. These treatments cannot guarantee restoration of vision already lost, but timely detection and treatment can prevent further damage and preserve sight for many people. The title says blurry vision is not aging. Sometimes it is related to aging. The lens becomes less flexible, cataracts become more common, and several eye diseases become more likely after 60. But aging is not a diagnosis. It is a category broad enough to hide almost anything. Elaine's vision did not change because she had suddenly reached an age at which glasses stopped working. Glucose was shifting the focusing system near the front of her eyes while damaged blood vessels were beginning to appear at the back. One process caused the blur to fluctuate. The other could have threatened sight without creating any blur at all. That is the danger of waiting until vision becomes obviously poor before requesting an eye examination. Diabetes-related damage can remain silent, and temporary improvement can create false reassurance. Your eyes are not simply windows through which you see the world. They are one of the few places where a clinician can directly examine living blood vessels without cutting through skin. Changes inside them may reveal what elevated glucose has been doing throughout the body long before another complication becomes visible. The blurred label, unstable prescription, or softened road sign may still turn out to be cataracts, dry eye, or an ordinary change in focus. But when the blur fluctuates beside thirst, frequent urination, fatigue, slow healing, or known diabetes, your glasses may not be the first thing that needs changing. Your blood sugar may be changing the eyes behind them. Before you leave, understand what is really at risk. The cost of this guide is small, but the cost of one rushed financial decision, one misleading health claim, one convincing scam, or one panic-driven reaction can be far greater. It can cost you money you spend years saving. It can cost you confidence in your own judgment. And in some cases, it can cost you your independence and peace of mind. The decision trap was created to help you recognize pressure, fear, hidden bias, and misleading information before they influence an important decision. You may not need this guide every day, but on the day you face a decision that could affect your savings, health, or future, not having a clear system may become far more expensive than getting one today. Click the link in the description and get your copy of The Decision Trap now, because the best time to protect yourself from a costly mistake is before you make it.